Okay, gently goes it, chaps, because whatever we say could be taken and used in evidence against us. I'm going to split against the Gazelle. It was him that said it.
No, it wasn't.
It was mine, Fiora.
Right, okay. Who amongst you is going to become a Reform UK council candidate?
What are you looking at me for?
Are you going to become a council candidate? Because Nigel is asking everybody. I'm just wondering whether or not he sent Tommy Robinson a candidate.
Just about to say that.
Form.
Something tells me probably not.
Okay, so we both know, and we all know, that the Gazelle is in the house. Say hello, Gazelle.
Good evening, everybody. And you know, as I've said 1,000 times before, Mr. Landlord, I cannot mention Keir, which is Tracy Rabin.
Okay. But we can mention him. His name is Tommy Robinson. Anyway, there you go. Mark, Statsman, the man with all the facts, the guy who knows exactly what's going on. Sir, say hello.
Hello. Can I say a big, massive hello to all our lovely listeners?
Indeed.
They are appreciated.
Oh, totally appreciated. All of them.
Massively.
All of them.
All three of them.
Well, I'm not going to become a UK Reform or Reform UK candidate. I'm just a little bit, I don't know. I don't really trust them now, to be honest with you. After they threw Robinson under the bus to disassociate themselves with it. No, you can get lost. Kiss it. Kiss it.
There's a lot to kiss.
We will leave it there. We will pack that up.
Does that mean that I've got to buy the digital points?
Yes.
Yes.
2 each.
Okay, Mark, open this up, and this is a special. Open it up and let's get the ball rolling with this. I mean, there's a lot going on. A lot. Go ahead.
I mean, where should we start? Should we start with, I don't know, Elon Musk releasing prisoners, false flags, councils arrested? I don't know where to start, really. We'll pick one.
It's incredible.
Should we go with the false flag?
Oh, yeah, go with that one.
Wasn't it funny the way all the protests that happened, some of them, may have turned into riots, happened over the weekend, were all freely available. You could find all the information online. No one was hiding anything. And a couple of days later, there was 100 protests announced by fake news.
Yeah.
Isn't that a treat? And then guess what happened?
It just went right across all the mainstream media. Mainstream media. And I'm sure somebody was taking advantage of this misinformation, or do we call it disinformation, or do we call it false narrative?
I'd call it false narrative. Who did put out this information? Because I didn't see any of these events or any of this stuff.
I didn't see
on
anything.
Social media like the rest of them. So do you think somebody wanted to, I don't know, whip up fear? Because a lot of people I know have been scared, even in our area, boarding up shops and everything in Warrington and Chester and everywhere.
Yeah.
Apparently hospitals are going to be targeted. Really? There's only one group of people that do that.
LGBTQ plus LMNP hospitals.
Well, then the treat is no one turned up. That's funny, isn't it?
So what could the anti-fascists do?
Well, I think it was all done by design, really, because they all turned up and apparently they've bashed fascism, whatever that means.
It's the same as bashing the bishop, but just slightly different.
Bashing the fash.
They were all just there.
A bunch of whack. Oh, sorry. Anyway, so do you really not know where it came from? It came from Hope Not Hate. It was released on Wednesday morning.
Was it? Why would they do something like that?
I wonder.
I can tell you exactly why. If I may, Tuesday and Wednesday. So Starmer came out with the, he said far right, EDL. It doesn't exist. So what do we see next? We see counter protests simply all over the country. It was because what happened initially was it said there was going to be 30 protests on the Wednesday. And I was watching GB News and they said, hang on, breaking news. We don't know where this has come from, but there is now going to be 100 protests and 30 counter protests. This was all over the mainstream media. And so what happened was it was genius, not quite thingy. And I put out 12 hours ago, and it's on Facebook. I've got it there. I can show it you there. It's all documented.
I don't want you to show us anything that we can't actually show into the public.
I just said...
Stop it now.
You wouldn't see it anyway.
As Matt mentioned earlier on, I just put, this is... And it's on my OnlyFans for the mic, people.
That's why I want a refund.
And it was I put out on, I think this was 12 hours ago. It's on my Facebook. This is nothing but a false flag. Now, what happened was it's put out by whoever that I put, so that everybody, 100 false destinations. There was actually a map that went out saying where it was going to go, which is going to spread the police thinner than margarine, quite basically.
I was speaking to somebody today, and they admitted that the figures about the police could be even worse, because I said there was about 140,000 of them, with 40,000 on the sick, and he went, I think you might want to revise that figure.
Really? Because he said 170,000 if you look it up. Wow. And he thinks it might be less than 140.
Less than 140,000.
I mean, look, we all know the truth, don't we? So this was created by, it was actually put out on Telegram that 100 protests, that was falsely spread across the country. So nothing happened, and as regards to 100 protests. Now,
stop those gaps! Stop the gap! Stop the gaps! Stop the gap!
Can we film him?
Has it got a problem there?
I'm going to... You're inciting a riot with me and the editing. That's it. Stop the gap.
Mind the gap.
I think you're going to be out at the weekend, and I'm telling you,
I'll be out outside your house. Stop the gaps.
I hope people have put all the wheelie bins away.
Stop the gaps.
I think people need to put the wheelie bins away, because he's a bit irate at the minute.
Never mind the boats.
Calm down. Now, as I'm trying to explain, right, you've got whoever put out that false telegram that actually created something that was bizarre, because there was no 100 protest groups going out, and we ended up with all these anti-protest group. And if it was put out by the government or whatever, whoever it was put out by, God help us if those two groups actually meet, because the police will fail dramatically. They
haven't got the numbers.
They haven't got the numbers. So nothing happens. And what we're getting at is that 100 of these protests were announced throughout the country. So nothing happens. So is this genius? Was it put out? All right, it's a conspiracy theorist by the government or whatever it was. But now we've found out that it was actually hope, not hate, to fire up their anti-protest groups. Now, nothing happens, and the government are now claiming full credit for sorting out the situation. We're going to lock them up. We lock them up within 10 minutes.
Don't.
They're going to jail. We will lock them up with 10 minutes. So what happens is nobody turns up. So they say, yeah, we won. Starmer. We've won, right? Wait till next weekend.
The thing is, Trev, they didn't turn up to any of the places where there'd been riots, and Rotherham and all these other places.
No, because it wasn't going to happen anyway.
No. The majority were north.
Well, you know who's...
Absolute red flag. Wake up, fools. Starmer's playing a very, very dangerous game here.
No, it's not Starmer's game. It's from his advisors. He's got behavioral advisors telling him what he should do. Now, these people are like extremely well funded. I believe they've got an office within number 10. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, he's two-tier Keir. Two-tier Keir.
You better get that right. Otherwise, Elon will never forgive you.
No, he's up to all kinds of tricks. I think he's got some Labour Party donors as his giving them jobs, isn't he, in the civil service too? So these guys are turning out to be far, far worse than the fake ons could ever imagine to be. But I was just looking.
They're called the Behavioural Insights Team.
Yeah, well, we remember all this, don't we, from the Great Panic of 2020? So this is no surprise. And it's worked, because I've seen normal people who aren't really into politics now fearing that there's hospitals going to be attacked. You've had immigration lawyers in tears moving the families. This is all done by design, this. Do you know what I mean? And no one turns up.
Well, again, why don't they spend as much effort on tracking down whoever pull out the false narratives and prosecute them? As you just said, Mark, they've got the lawyers that are moving out, the families that are panicking. That's more terrorist than... That's creating more terror.
Yeah, but they're saying all this has come from a Telegram group. I'm not being funny. They said they were talking about counter-surveillance and all this stuff. If these people knew anything, they wouldn't be talking about this stuff on a Telegram group. So I smell absolute BS, to be honest with you, with this. Because if they know who they are and they've got an open Telegram group and they were planning all these attacks, which it might be seen as terrorism, I suppose. Why haven't they arrested them? But they want to do some of these rioters for terrorism as well, don't they? But the problem they've got here is...
What about all those people that were actually agreeing with that Labour councillor that said, slit all their throats?
Yeah, and they're all clapping and joking and laughing.
That's right.
Yeah.
That guy's been arrested now, but I don't know the full situation. Go ahead, Mark.
See, let's just imagine it was the left rioting. Oh, no, let's not imagine. Let's go back to 2021. Kill the Bill protests. These have all been forgotten about, haven't they? So we've made the bogeymen Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage. Let's see what Jeremy Corbyn said at a protest. And this protest was in London. There was 100 arrested, 10 police hurt. According to the news, majority peaceful, as always. And Jeremy Corbyn said this to the marchers: stand up for the right to protest, as protesters protest against the police. So he's there, egging them all on. 8 were injured, and some had broken bones. They actually attacked the police station. They set vans on fire. So you had one in Manchester with 100 arrested, that one in Bristol where they attacked the police station. I think about 80 so have been arrested. One in Manchester, 18 arrested. Largely peaceful, according to the media.
I love that.
Yes, and then there was one in...
I love that. He's doing the quote unquote.
Sorry, you can't
like
see the quote.
Bunny's ears. Quote unquote.
And then there was a fourth one in Bristol, and there was 14 arrested. So they only had 4 protests, and they had about half the number arrested that have been arrested for the 16 we saw over the weekend. Now, when they were gone to court, it's taken months to put them through court. So months. A little bit two-tiered.
Well, look at that guy that got done for shouting at police. What did he get?
To be fair to the Kill the Bill, they did slam them as well. Some of them have got three. In fact, some guy got more for kicking police shields than the guy who hit the police. So as in terms of sentencing, about the same. But in terms of frequency, if you work it out, it's like about 50 people arrested per protest, whereas the ones over the weekend, less than 30 on average. So,
Can we just take this to another level?
Yes, but before we do, you mentioned someone being arrested for what? Being shouty.
Yeah.
But what about the Muslims in the airport who physically beat 3 police officers up?
They've got another press release coming. And another press conference.
Another one.
I'm sure.
Where they say, we're always the victims, it's never our fault. That one.
What? We're always the victims, it's never our fault.
Did you see that? They sat there with hard faces and said, we were the victims here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay, maybe you got treated a little bit roughly when you were being arrested. That kind of happens sometimes when you don't just willingly give them your wrists, which they didn't. Yeah. But you don't go swinging your fists and knocking women out, do you? Come on.
No, seriously. That's not the
But anyway, I'm sure they'll be arrested at some point.
Well, they have been arrested. It's charged that I'm interested in.
Sorry, they were arrested, but yeah, they're on bail with they'll all go away, won't it, eventually? That's another false flag, isn't it?
Well, that's another two-tier Keir policing.
Oh, everything about it. I mean, I give my wrists on a couple of occasions. And I give my wrists quite freely, but it is expensive.
No more detail, thank you. No more detail.
No, it does get expensive, but I do actually give my wrists freely.
Anyway, let's bring it to another level up, and I'm going to ask some questions.
Is it a quiz? I love a quiz.
Do you think, no prizes here, I think there is a decline of the Labour Party's white working class support.
Oh, I'd say so.
Would you say that? Would you agree with that? Trevor, stop the gaps. Stop it. I asked you a question. Do you agree with that?
Gaps are welcome here.
Stop the gaps.
Gaps are welcome here. Gaps are welcome here. See? Outnumbered.
We just beat the fash. We beat the fash.
I'm going to mute you.
We beat the fash.
What are you going to do? I'm just going to mute you. Okay. Increased.
That's exactly what Stalin would have done as well.
Yeah. Increased into ethnic conflict.
Here, Stalin. Sorry, go on.
Do you think that's going on?
Well, someone did just say slit all their throats. And he wasn't white, was he?
No.
Oh, dear.
What do you think that should we criticize multiculturalism that only works when authoritarianism is actually implemented? Because that's what I'm thinking I'm seeing.
Yeah, they're going to have to force it on us, aren't they?
They're forcing
physically force it. Yeah.
That's what I think is happening.
Yeah. It always gets to this point, though, doesn't it?
So multiculturalism won't work without authoritarianism.
Correct.
Now, is there an erosion of British identity and trust?
Well,
Trevor, put the Peroni down and listen.
We discussed
I can only think when I drink.
Yeah. Look, we discussed this for 4 years, didn't we? And then we had a special on it where we did about 8 podcasts on everything they've destroyed.
Okay.
So, yes.
All right. Now, next question. And this is the last question. Is there a need for English national representation?
Yes, but shut up and go to jail. Sorry, I was doing
Stop
me Keir Starmer impression again.
Stop the gap. Yes, the gap. Yes, the gap. Just the Gazelle. Is there a need?
I was actually on a train on Saturday and it said, watch the gap.
Mind the gap.
Mind the gap. Mind the gap.
Be careful when you stand at the end of the platform because you might get blown off.
Indeed.
We'll do, which platform is this?
No, we're not going to go into that.
Sorry, I've got to go. No, we should do some merch with Mind the Gap on the t-shirt.
Mind the gap.
Gaps are welcome here.
Do we need an English national representation? I.e., if we can have a Scottish Parliament and a Scottish National Party, we can have a Welsh Parliament. We can have a Northern Irish Parliament. Why can't we have an English Parliament?
Racist. Because the idiots will go racist.
Well,
the idiots need a bogeyman for that ideology, don't they? So anyone fits.
I'm calling for it.
Or the fascist.
I'm calling for it because I don't think. Well, let's put it this way. I don't trust Reform UK. I've gone off them completely. So you can get lost. Shove it. To put that mic where the sun doesn't shine. Reform UK are now out of the equation. They ain't the ones.
Elon Musk should go into politics.
I think, Jesus, we should have that guy in there. The way that he's kneeling. Have you seen those tweets that he's putting out? And people saying, oh, you shouldn't pay attention to views, like 24 million views of a view.
No, he's clever because Bob, if he sees something, he doesn't jump on it fully. He will say, is this correct? And then community notes will supply the evidence. Normally it's correct. And
I can't get over
poking Stalin.
All these people that are insulting Elon Musk, but they're doing it on Elon Musk's platform.
Yeah, I know. And some of them are getting suspended for like next to nothing. And it's like, oh, you don't like it when it happens to you. It's hilarious.
I can't believe James O'Brien made a comment. And I said, if this isn't a racist comment, what is? Because he was basically saying that everyone that from here on in that votes for Reform UK are racists.
See, I know people who aren't white who voted for them. So, I mean, who are they racist to exactly?
Well,
themselves?
No, the point I'm making is...
Because that doesn't really make sense. You'd be racist to yourself. Well, you suppose you could be, couldn't you? But it doesn't really have the same effect, does it?
The point I'm making is simply this.
Yeah, I see your point.
This guy is basically trying to put fear into people that are going to vote for Reform UK. He's trying to instill some sort of a fear that you are actually going to be called a racist if you vote Reform UK. Well, as far as I'm concerned, James O'Brien, I would love to meet this guy, and have a chat with him. I'd love to have.
He's repulsive.
Oh no,
Do you know, John?
I'd like to have a chat with him in a secluded corner, and actually say to him, "Okay, explain yourself now." He uses it's LBC's on, isn't it?
Yeah.
He uses that platform as a weapon for the left. And I'm sorry, but this guy is so clear cut. In my opinion, he is so clear cut, a racist in his own way against people and against the democratic system. Because if he's trying to accuse people of being racists for voting for another party other than Labour, well, then I'm sorry, but, that isn't going to work. That isn't going to work at all.
Not. Do you know what this is? Like the same tactics with this false flag. So this was all done to stoke fear, wasn't it? And obviously put people off coming to protests. And then it also gave the narrative, what we saw the next day in all the headlines, that the anti-racists had won. But the thing is, the majority of people who are protesting, and probably some of the people who are actually rioting as well, aren't racist. Or if they are,
no
one's
say
actually
rioting.
proven.
I would say they were protesting about things.
Yeah, but you've got to say it as it is. You can protest, but then if you start, burning stuff and throwing things, then it is a riot, I'm afraid. Now, like the one who got nicked in Southport, he said, I don't even know what left or right is. And like I said last week, he's a sociopath. He just wants to watch something burn. He's seen a big kick-off. He's thought, I'm having some of that. And that's what people do. So no one's actually proved who is racist out of these protests and riots, whatever you want to call it, and who isn't. They're just stoking fear to put people off altogether, and then they make it look as if the left have smashed the problem. They just shout at the sky and smash nothing.
Yeah, but you've got it right there, Matt.
Yeah, he's doing the same.
You've got it absolutely bang on there, Matt, because what's happening, they come out now, Starmer's turning around and saying, oh, well, he's thinking, right, brilliant, we've threatened him. But these people, they're not far right. They're not this, they're not that, whatever.
Oh, Labour have had it. They've had it.
Labour have had it. Labour have had it. Good style. Yep. They're never going to, they could work for 5 years now and never get rid of it.
They're not going to get their credibility back.
No, they're never going to get it back. They have not quelled it, right? They think they've quelled it. They've not quelled it. They've put it on the back boiler. And it's very, very dangerous what they've done.
Yep. I spoke to somebody who is a union guy, and he controls a certain amount of influence in the railways. And this guy turned around and said, they've got no chance. They have alienated a whole cohort of people within the unions have suddenly gone, wait a minute, we're not far right.
Yes.
And if they start pulling out, and this is what he said to me, if they start pulling out support for the union as subscribers, then that actually is his funding going to go. Now, all right, the Labour Party with 404 MPs are actually going to get quite a bit of public money for doing what they're doing. But when it comes to an election, they have to use their own money. And quite simply, they ain't going to survive. And they know that if they don't bring the unions with them. So they've got a lot of explaining to do. And a lot of people that they were talking about were basically Labour supporters in Labour heartlands. Go ahead, Mark.
Exactly.
The worrying thing here is now where everyone's distracted, what are they doing while we're not looking? Because when there's a big distraction, so we had the winter fuel thing. Now normally, without all this, that'd have been a huge thing. Because as we've just seen the video today of Keir Starmer absolutely rinsing the Tories for doing the same thing. He's a massive hypocrite, but even his own side have been distracted. And then you've got these Labour donors coming into the civil service. Yeah. Oh, wow, this is worse than the Conservatives, I'm afraid. And again, everyone's distracted, so what else are we missing?
Oh, there's going to be absolute...
It's these times, isn't it, John? And it's these times when they sneak stuff through.
It's all the time when it's look over there, don't look over there, what we're doing.
Exactly. They had the King's speech, they got like 30, 40 laws.
Where is the King in all of this? Why isn't he actually stepping forward and asking what's going on? Why aren't we hearing from him? I mean, because I'm beginning to sit back and say, well, actually, I think maybe a republic might be a good thing because the king is not protecting the major cohort of people that actually support him.
It feels like a republic. Someone put a good tweet out and they actually asked the royal family, come on, this government is just destroying this country and turning on the natives. Are you going to do anything about it?
And where's Welby? Right? This guy is continually turning the other cheek and negotiating with other faith leaders. This guy is just useless. I've said it to other people, and a lot of people are frightened to actually open their mouth and say, Welby is weak. Welby is useless. Get rid of him.
They're all cowardly traitors, and do you know what? They're anti-British or anti-English, a lot of them.
There's
because they wouldn't be doing this to this country otherwise, would they?
There's something definitely wrong. I mean, when you actually get to the point where people are thinking, I'm living in a prison. I had that said to me. Said, I'm living in a prison because I'm worried now that I'm not going to be able to travel from one area of the country to the other without having my face recognized. And they're worried about social scoring. China, here we come. And I'm thinking, oh, Jesus Christ. For somebody to be saying something like that to me quite openly, I'm thinking, that's bad. I mean, that's really bad. Go ahead, Mark.
Two-tier Keir Starmer still hasn't faced up to the actual problem underlying with all this. These people need to preserve our culture and protect what our ancestors built and keep us safe. That's generally the theme behind the protests. They might turn into riots, but that's the rumblings in the background. And these people are just such snobby elitists. They just look down on us. They're not British. They're socialists.
Yeah, they are.
International socialists.
Hitler was a socialist too,
Yes, he was. And by the way, they're international socialists, but they, rather than the class struggle of the Marxists, these guys tend to be using a hierarchy of identity. So are these people closer to the actual National Socialists and Nazis than the people they're calling the Nazis? I'd say so, and I'll argue that with anybody, and I have done. And no one seems to be able to come back to me on that one.
Let's go to the Gazelle, because otherwise he's flicking. Well, is that the V sign from Churchill there you're flicking there, sir?
Nope.
Yeah, I just want to pull up stats, actually. He's my colleague here, but he keeps calling.
He's not your colleague anymore. You can get lost. Reformed UK can shove it where the sun doesn't shine.
No, I feel a joke. I feel a joke coming here. Come on.
No, there is actually. No, there's something I put my colleague up here. I keep calling him Sir Keir Starley. I'm a bit upset because he's giving me a false flag, because I know for a fact that starlings gather at the end of the year, around about September, and then they go and Tourette's, sod off. That's what they do. Sorry, it's a good job that Tourette's kicked in. And they gather at the end of September, and you've seen them all in the skies, and then they sod off. Well,
nice.
That's he's giving me a false flag here, because he's building up my hopes, thinking that this.
Sorry about that.
Keir Starmer.
Starmer! Keir Starmer!
Get lost.
Sod off.
Do you know, it might not be September, but I think it might be before his term's up.
Well, do we have a unified decision that we don't like what's going on? We are in affinity with Elon, who is needling Starmer, and Starmer can't do anything about it.
That's glorious, isn't it?
They have in America, they have the First and they have the Second Amendments. So there's nothing that Starmer can do about it.
They'll come for Twitter, or X, as you'd like to call it these days. They'll come for him.
Oh, what are they going to do? Because, to be honest with you, Musk could actually destroy this government. It's paper thin.
You know what he should do, John? He should just kick them all off X.
Yeah, just get rid of them all off there.
Single one of them. Yeah.
I've said on Cheshire Matters, we're like a team in what we do, and the way that we look at the tweets that we put out. And I've said to people, well, like James O'Brien, I said, well, if you're going to call Musk, a twerp, or no, it wasn't him that called him; it was somebody else. And if you're going to call him a twerp, get off X if you don't like it.
No, he's not going to do that, because he wants this for free speech, and I see where he's coming from. If free speech is important, so you've got to let even people speak the things you don't want to hear. And at the minute, it's the only what can we say, like the Market Square, whatever. It's the only place, isn't it now?
Yeah, it's
Where
Speaker's
everyone,
Corner.
where
That's where
everyone
it
can
is.
talk, because you can't do it on Facebook. You can't mention certain people's names.
No.
Instagram, TikTok, and everyone are all deleting people's things. YouTube are doing the same at the minute. There's only X who hasn't bent the knee.
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead, Trevor.
Exactly, yeah. What we need to do, as regards, if you just mentioned now, if Elon is listening, and I know that he does. I don't want to go into that.
Well,
Now,
I know
if
that
Elon,
Trump listens.
If Elon is actually listening, right, what we need to do, Elon, is we need to get rid of all these Labour candidates, MPs, whatever they are. If you see that far left numpty on your finger, we've got to exterminate.
Exterminate.
Take all the ticks off them and charge them more.
Get rid of it.
I cannot wait for the public debates to actually challenge some of these MPs to what they're doing. It would be great to do. They'll not turn up because they know that they will get slaughtered. I mean, if there were an election tomorrow, what do you think is going to happen to Labour?
Well, I can't wait for the football season to start because I love a good match debate.
Well, I can tell you now, if there were an election tomorrow, Labour would be slaughtered. Our only problem is who's going to take that ground, because we do not have a truly representative party. I don't believe Reform UK. No, I don't believe that Reform UK is that party. I don't believe it.
Get rid of all parties.
You know, there are other parties. So, you know, there's the English Democrats. I mean, I'd go for them.
So we're going to say Defence League then for a sec.
I thought you were going to say you're studying Libs.
No.
Rats and cages.
No, and I simply cannot wait for Trump to get back in.
No, I need a good Trump.
I'm telling you now, I've got a funny feeling that Starmer is going to change his tune if Trump gets back in. And I think Europe is going to change its tune.
A very good feeling. That's why I need a Trump.
Well, Mark is not quite convinced by that. Go on.
No, I am. No, it's they're doing the old changing the polling again, aren't they? So now apparently Kamala Harris is ahead, and it's like, yeah, whatever. She was polling worse than Joe Biden the day before she took over. Sorry, not having that. And Hillary Clinton was 98% chance to win, and 10 minutes later Donald Trump won. So we'll see, won't we?
They're nuts. Okay,
yeah.
And I can tell you now that if Trump gets back in, he's not going to really give Starmer and his cabinet, too much time. He's just going to tell them straight. Don't like what's going on. Because can you remember that comment that J.D. Vance said? That he turned around and he said, well, he thinks that the first Muslim state to get nuclear weapons is going to be the UK. And he joked about it.
That wasn't a joke.
You're absolutely right.
That wasn't a joke.
I feel that was a message to Starmer's government, and I don't care how arrogant Starmer is.
Yes.
That was a message to Starmer's government to say, get your house in order. Go ahead.
Would the English have a case like internationally to say, look, we've been held hostage by our socialist government who've taken over our country? Maybe Trump could get the ball rolling and put pressure on him.
Well, the last thing
release your hostages, please.
The last thing that I want to say is I know that a charity took the previous government to court over the extra powers that they gave to the police over protests, and they won.
Isn't that funny? Because wasn't that what all those people I said were protesting and rioting about earlier?
Yep.
Oh, so some of them are still be in jail now, and the court have said it was all unlawful.
Yeah.
So all those riots and breaking the bones of all the police officers and setting fire was all pretty pointless then.
Well, it appears so. And on May the 21st, it was announced that the High Court said that the government actions were unlawful, and they've given them leave for the government to appeal. So that'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think Starmer is making hay while the sun shines, because I think legally he's going to have some problems. And I know, as far as I'm concerned, bring it on, because a lot of the things that I think are happening are actually illegal. And I think once they're challenged by some of the big people, and if he's taken on people like Musk will defend people that actually are having legal action taken against them for things that they're saying on his platform.
What are they going to do? Even if they ban it, we'll just use VPNs.
That's right.
It's like, what?
And there's nothing that they can do about it. You know, what are they going to do? They're going to stop VPNs? No.
I know for a fact, even the lefties would be crying, mate, if you took Twitter away.
I know.
They love it. It's their little echo chamber to shout fascist and racist
And
and,
all the rest of the
Nazis.
stuff. Well, okay. Well,
Look, they can always ban. They can ban what they want to ban, right? But there'll always be one Chinaman ahead of them.
yeah, that's right.
One thing they can't
No,
ban is the
That's
English.
not racist. That's just saying that the Chinese are very, very clever.
Oh, they are. There's no
There's
two ways
nothing
about it.
racist in that before you all start complaining.
Yeah, and it's because you like Chinese chicken fried rice with sweet and sour sauce.
Ooh, that sounds
Actually,
nice.
I'm
Either-
looking forward to Saturday night.
I'm telling you now, if anybody integrated into this country, it was the Chinese. Because
course they did.
they actually found a way into our hearts and our stomachs. We love
Our
them.
tummies. Exactly.
Yeah, we love the Chinese. No, and we also love curries as well. You know, you have to be honest about it.
Yeah, for making myself.
No,
yeah.
that's fair. That's fair comment. That's fair comment. Fair comment. If
So
they
they-
can integrate and supply us with a free curry, yes.
Free curry? You're not going to get a free curry. That ain't going to happen.
Well, look, you sod off then. Get back to where you come from.
Oh, don't say that.
No.
Mein Führer.
Mein Führer might not like that.
I'll get
There's
a knock on my
Gestapo
door in a
on you.
minute.
All right, do
Yeah,
us
I'll get a knock on the door in a minute. Yeah,
do us a
you're right
favor.
there.
Just say goodnight.
Well, let's hope it's the Chinese. I'm going to get a knock on the door. That's
Say
all I'm saying.
goodnight,
They're
Gazelle.
not an Indian. I don't
Say
want an Indian.
goodnight,
If
Gazelle.
they're not giving anything. Oh,
Gazelle.
sorry. Good night. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else that's listening. And don't forget, gazelle.com, OnlyFans.